By the way, we had that water brought in special for you folks. Came from Well and Hinkley.
Welcome everyone to the Film Ireland podcast. Now that your watch has ended, your listen may begin, because Game of Thrones has finished as of today/last night at time recording. But we're not talking about it until maybe next month. We'll see. Who knows? Who cares? Do you like it? I don't care either. It was fine. Me and Sarah saw objectively too many films this month between ourselves, but none of them overlapped. So it'll be interesting to talk about, double figures of films that we haven't either both seen.
Yes.
Apart from one.
Guess which it is.
It's only made almost $3 billion worldwide. It's very close to beating Avatar. It's 160 million off beating Avatar.
Oh, wow.
So it probably will do it until Avatar 2 comes out and then beats it again. And it's just this giant money fight between some of the wealthiest entities on Earth. Bleak.
Speaking of bleak, it's time to bring back our patented Irish movie Bleakometer, as I think we should call it now, for our Irish movie section this month.
Words are hard. I agree.
Words are hard. That's why I watch movies. I don't say them. Don't say words. I don't say movies.
We're writers,
either.
not talkers. That we're made to do podcasts for till we die.
So yes, I'll begin as we said we would with Wild Rose, which is it's Irish, it's Scottish. I mean, it is technically a Scottish movie, but it has an Irish lead in Jessie Buckley. This does not rank high, or it ranks low. I don't know which way our Bleakometer goes. It is.
That's a good point. How does this work? I guess the higher it is, the bleaker it is. So
okay, so this
if
is
it ranks high, it's bleak.
This is low on it.
Okay,
and I suspect it's because it's Scottish influences, because it feels very much like an Irish setup to a movie. It's this, Jessie Buckley's character. She has just got out of jail after a year where she was put in for drug possession, and we find out that her kids have been, she has two, I think an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old kid. They've been living with her mother, who is played by Julie Walters. So great performances there. But basically, she has to now try to figure her way back into society. And it seems like she never was very good at it in the first place, like juggling being a mother with working and also being unable to fulfill her dream of being a Western singer.
I would say, isn't this a music film?
It is.
Like, all I know about it is it's vaguely Irish and it's got a musical plot to it.
Yes.
You're talking what is this film? Is this the same film?
It is. Maybe I should have prefaced it with that. But yeah, so I mean, the where the sort of not Irish thing comes in is actually sort of getting to, chase your dream and, sort of ending up with quite a happy ending, which is, happy, like achieving things, which is not really allowed in Irish films generally, I feel.
Yeah, no, that's probably right. Or at least if you do achieve things, there's some sort of Faustian pact.
Yeah.
Some kind of sword hanging over your head by the end of it.
Yeah. So I it's funny. I think watching it, I was sort of like, what's with all this happiness? What? There's singing and happiness and dancing and stuff, and it's not to be fair.
There were drugs though,
There
so
were also there
was substance abuse, therefore it's fine.
Exactly, yeah. So I mean, to be fair, there is still a lot of drama around things not going right along the way, but there's just there's an amount of happiness that it just doesn't quite sit well with with a dour Irish viewer, I feel.
Are you saying that made it a bad film because it was remotely happy?
No, I'm saying I think it escapes its Irishness in that way. Right.
Hey, good.
Yeah. So yeah, enjoyed it. A little bit schmaltzy, but I think it's probably good for that.
I'm trying to think how to rank my film, which is the new Neil Jordan movie Greta. Because it definitely, on a plot level, is quite bleak thinking about it, but it's also sort of a black comedy, so it plays off its bleakfulness with a wry smile. So I guess, I don't know, maybe a halfway up the bleakometer, because it is bleak objectively in terms of what happens in it, but this is one of those ones where I feel like the more the plot you know,
Okay.
the worse off you are. But also, I'm not sure how much I didn't see the trailer. I'm not sure how much the trailer gives away, and I feel like it has to give away a good chunk of it to kind of sell the film.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, do you mind if I spoil a lot of this?
I think if you need to talk about it in this way, I get it.
Okay, so spoilers for everyone, including Sarah. So the setup is Chloe Grace Moretz lives in New York, but it was mainly all shot in Dublin, and it's kind of watching, kind of going, "Oh, is that like the bit behind Pig? Is that street?" Playing as New York.
Nice.
I don't know why they shot most of it here, but they did. So she's a country girl living in the big city, and she finds a handbag on a train, and being the good country girl Samaritan she is, she returns it to this, seemingly innocent, lonely old woman played by Isabelle Huppert, which immediately obviously in your head goes, well, she's crazy because it's Isabelle Huppert.
Mm-hmm.
She becomes friends with the old lady. I say old lady. Isabelle Huppert is not old. Older woman gets very clingy and stalkery, and then she tries to cut her off, and then it takes a turn that gets a bit more straight thriller horror-ish. I think it's decent fun. The first chunk of it's very iffy. Like, the acting feels very stilted.
Mm-hmm.
There's this really overraw score, which if you didn't know it was going to take a turn halfway through it, like, it's so foreboding that it's almost comical. Like, it almost feels like a parody of itself. The score is so intense during like the quieter scenes. Once it sort of gets going, it is good fun. Huppert is definitely having fun with it. I haven't seen her in a ton of stuff, but I know she's very well liked. What was that one she was in? Elle? Was it?
Yeah, that was really good.
Interesting film.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what to say about it. I think I liked it, but also it was a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's having fun this one. It's very much just her playing the kookiest, craziest, murderiest French person she could possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's great. Like, it's interesting having this kind of plot with all female characters. Okay, again, kind of spoil it. Like, it's kidnapping and trying to coerce someone into being your surrogate daughter / friend. And I'll give the film all the props in the world for not having a lesbian subtext, which I was afraid it would, because it's older lady and younger woman, like younger, more newborn. Like, Chloe Grace Moretz always looks 12. I'm sorry, I know she's like 20 now, but she always looks like kick-ass hit girl character. Just her face doesn't age. And it seemed like it could have easily gone the whole, it's an older lady seducing her and being a predator. Like, no, it's an entirely unqueer film, which I know I'm always like no, more queer movies, come on. But not in this case. This is good that they didn't do it.
Yeah, you don't want it to be stereotypes.
No, like, I love Killing Eve, but even that was a bit of a murderous lesbian vibe to it. Yeah, no, I think that's definitely the biggest point in Sarah, especially given it's a male director and stuff, that they didn't go for the more obviously titillating version of a thriller plot like this. Yeah, no, it's not that bleak in terms of tone. It is quite bleak in the last act, I'd say, in terms of plot. But it's decent fun. But if you're in there for the hot lesbian romance action, it's mercifully absent. So from talk of young girls to talk of young girls,
yes.
That is the creepiest segue I have ever uttered in my mouth. If someone isolates that clip and puts it somewhere, I'll be very sad. Sarah, tell us about books. Or actually, no, I'm thinking out. Should I do 8th grade first and you do Book Smart? Because then it's a natural progression of age. Because isn't Book Smart the end of high school?
It is about the end of high school. Yes.
Whereas 8th grade is the start of high school. American systems confuse me. Because I think, is she entering middle school or leaving middle school? What's middle school? How old are you in middle school? Can't they just have a simple system like us where it's the babby school and then the non-babby school?
And you have first class and you have first year and you have senior infants, and it all just makes sense.
It's grand. Now it's all freshmen and middle schools and high schools, and is there a lower school? I don't know. Anyway, so this is Bo Burnham, who is a renowned stand-up comedian, songwriter / something else. Filmmaker now, yes, I suppose.
Yeah, he has a lot of talents.
He does, seemingly. I feel like I never knew who he was, because I think I heard his name mentioned once a few years ago in relation to some kind of backlash. I don't know what he said, but everyone seems to like him, so it must have been a tongue-in-cheek joke taken too far or something.
He does have, I think, some of his comedy is centered around like just how stupid white men are, and you know, lots of people think white men are great, so you know, this is a point of contention.
Another isolated vocal clip of Sarah just saying white men are great. I think I watched some of his songs afterwards on YouTube, and they were very funny. And then sort of what's that guy's name? Tim Minchin kind of way. Like they were certainly they weren't entirely PC, shall we say? But I think like it was, like you're saying, it was the intent of the jokes wasn't. It meant well, but it's doing it in a way that's very
sure. Okay,
what's the word for here?
Sort of trying to be ironic, but just not
kind of,
ironic.
I suppose. Yeah. Anyway, so this is his film. It's incredibly earnest, and it's about a, let's say, 14-year-old girl. I think she's meant to be 14. That's probably just the start of high school. Again, this isn't me not following the film. It's just American systems confusing me. So she's 14. That's we've established that, right?
Good.
It's basically just a character study of the utter hell that is being a teenager, and I think a really strong thing it does is it gets her psychology so right that like anyone can kind of, I think it works for anyone's generation, but it's obviously about like the current smartphone generation and how truly hellish their life looks. Like I thought we had a bad, no, this looks much worse. I didn't know Snapchat would be so important to their lives. I guess it is.
Wow.
I'm glad I'm not there anymore. So yeah, definitely would probably, I think it would hit hardest if you are like an 18-year-old girl now, because it was a full body cringe of a film for me. Like I was wincing the entire way through it. I felt so uncomfortable. Not because it was bad, like it was really good. It was just all of it felt horrific, and I wanted to just leave. So imagine if you're a girl, it must hit even worse. So it is just her. So it's maybe a week in her life where she's just transitioning from, let's say again, middle school to high school. And hating her life because she's incredibly lonely, but she does all these like vlogs for YouTube, which no one watches, but like the version of herself on the vlogs is very confident, and it's almost like she's giving herself advice from the vlogs to her real life self, even though she doesn't seem to have that kind of confidence. And then she like meets a high schooler and becomes sort of friends with her and realizes, and it's not all as bad as it could be, and blah blah blah. But yeah, no, it's incredibly strong. I think the thing I liked about the most was that even though it's this really low stakes drama and it's situations she's in are really small scale, like it's just her being invited to like the pool party of the popular girl who she's never talked to before and going there. But the score is like a score from a horror film, so I think it does the anxiety of social situations.
That's really clever.
It's really good. And the score is actually really good. It's very It Follows-y, or what was the other film? Can't remember. One of those modern scores where it's all synthy and overwrought and cool and good. There's one bit where, and I won't say what happens, but it does hit it onto the old bleakometer. It does hit a point of addressing something which I feel it had to address. If it didn't address it, it would have felt untrue, unrealistic. And I think credit to Bo Burnham, he knows just how far to take it without the film feeling icky. Like it pulls back at the right moment. Like it's a vaguely sexually assaulty kind of bit, but again, like it knows where to stop so that you don't sort of lose sympathy with the film. So it's addressing it and saying like, look, these things do happen and it's bad, but it doesn't go so far as to be really icky and exploitative. I don't know why anyone would want to watch it, because like it's not a fun watch, but it's a really phenomenally good sort of interior viewpoint of adolescence and the hell that is. Yeah, no, that I can see. Yeah, like you gotta watch stuff that just you identify with, even if you're not enjoying it. That sounds really cool. Do you has anyone talked about, or like, do you think it being a male director, does that add or take away anything from it? Or I feel as a male, I'm ill-equipped to answer that question. I actually don't know anyone like of my kind of close female friends who actually have seen it yet. So I'm dying to know what they think of it, because I do suspect if I found it that affecting and just that, again, painfully cringy, in a like not in a bad way, in a good way, I'm sure it must be even worse for any of yourselves. I do suspect there's probably some little things that could have been more correct, but I think it is more about that age group opposed to the gender so much. Like the gender of the main character isn't unimportant, but it's not as much focus on as just that age bracket, I think. But yeah, I suspect probably there's shortcomings there if you know what to look for. I myself do not, as a male man. But yeah, no, it's pretty good.
That's cool. No, I really have to see it after hearing about it. I'm sorry I didn't get to see it before this, but no, that sounds really, really good. Shall I move on to our accompanying film? Because I suppose there's some one similarity with Booksmart is it's also directed by a an actor, if not
Bo Burnley. He made
Bo
2 films. Didn't he?
yes. Which so it's directed by Olivia Wilde.
Oh, of course. Yes.
So I don't know if she's also a comedian or musical person or anything, but maybe she is.
All I can think of when I hear her name is she was in that Tron film, wasn't she?
I think so.
What else is Olivia Wilde been in?
She's in House. Was probably her biggest role.
Of course, yes. I should know watch that, but yes, that's the main one. Okay, right, not just Tron.
She was also, I probably shouldn't know this, but she was in one of the music videos for Dashboard Confessional.
Don't even know what that is.
Okay, let's move on.
Google it later and send you taunting messages.
Yeah, that's it.
Whatever reason that's bad.
It's just sort of old. Well, not. It's sort of early.
We're old now. You can say old.
Well, it's pretty old. But it's also just overly kind of emotional breakup music.
Oh, okay. Right.
So that kind of thing. But yeah.
Fair enough.
Check them out.
I will, Sarah. Thank you.
So yeah, as I said, this is about slightly older American school girls, I guess. Another great moment. Just don't take it out of context. Yeah, so this is about sort of a two-hander this time, and actually, it's 2 people I was really happy to see. So there's Caitlin Dever. She was she was a really good character in Justified, that series. If you ever saw that. And then Beanie Feldstein, who was the best friend in Lady Bird. And
yes.
I really wished that she was the main character in Lady Bird because she was really awesome. So I mean, I was kind of just really happy to even just see those 2 actors getting the sort of attention they deserved. And, well, they're actually just also a very good comedic double act. I guess that one of the differences between 8th grade is this is quite a lot more comedic. Yeah, no, it's I'd say it's probably still similarities.
I mean, 8th grade was funny. It was
there you go. So it's funny. 2 movies that are funny.
Who knew women would be funny, guys? That's 2019. It's all happening.
There you go. But yeah, no. So this is sort of like a female Superbad. I kind of like to describe it because it's these 2.
Okay.
I think it's for good reasons.
Right.
Or at least I'm really glad that they didn't try to make a female Superbad 10 years ago because that would have crashed and burned.
That was horrific. Can you imagine?
Yeah. But this is about 2 sort of model students who've made it to their last day of high school. And actually what I quite enjoy about it is kind of doing that thing that high school movies are doing in the last while, which is flipping kind of the convention. So 22 Jump Street, I really like how it's the nerds are the cool people now. And also they're all dealing weed. Okay. But yeah, so this is that these 2 students they're kind of oh, well, we didn't party, we, studied hard and we're going to our choice universities, so everything's fine. And then they find out that everyone is going to Harvard and Yale, and so they're then realizing how much they've missed out on everything, so they go on a party odyssey for their last day. I think it is quite fun. It does end up, I think, depending a little bit too much on that convention of whoa, this person wasn't who you expected. They're actually this person. Because I think literally nearly every character that you encounter has that, which is a little
grating,
bit grating. But it's also very funny along the way. And also Amy, one of the 2 characters, is out and has been for years. So it's not it's a big deal in one sense in that part of the story is her trying to actually talk to her crush at the end of the movie. But the other side is her being gay isn't a point of contention.
Yeah.
So I mean, I suppose that's probably cool, the better. It is really nice to see that, and I think it's quite a nice. Well, I did go in hoping that it would be this year's Blockers,
right? Yes.
And I think it kind of is.
Excellent. That's really good. That's really high praise.
Yeah. It's I wouldn't say there's some stuff that's a little bit hit or miss, but it's really funny and also just wholesome and actually very funny. There was stuff I was just laughing out loud at. So nice. It's really really.
The trailer was very good, so
there you go.
For it.
So yeah, no, highly recommend it, and good to see lots of movies about girls in school at the moment. It's a
And
theme.
made by women too.
Yes, and made by women.
Like the upcoming Charlie's Angels reboot, which I'm very excited for.
Oh, yes. Ooh.
Will it be the same as the glory days of the early 2000s, directed by McGee? Probably not, but it'll be a much better film. Okay, I know you just talked, but do you want to talk about 3 more films on your own?
I would love to. Yeah, I suppose I can keep talking about women and women-directed movies.
Good, I'm glad to hear it.
With
that.
With the first of my...
That's why I'm being very threatening about this. Yeah, you talk about those female-directed films, Sarah. God damn it.
Fine, well, when you put it that way. This is, the first of my Netflix corner.
I think we need a name for this because there's a lot of Netflix happening on the show. It seems late. Netflix niche. Netflix.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We probably shouldn't come up because we're not good at coming up with names.
No, we're not. Or remembering names or just names. Anything speaking is hard.
That's it. Oh well. But yeah, actually, so
this isn't content you're paying for, people. You can't complain about it. Sorry, go on.
That's quite okay. So this is actually a third movie directed also by another actor. Mm-hmm. So this is Amy Poehler's Wine Country.
Oh yes, of course.
And I think we were talking about it before. Like, it is a bit of like a Netflix movie, but it's also quite fun. Like, for one, I'm kind of glad to see like women getting to do stuff, going around just drinking wine, because we've seen a lot of men do that over the years. So, it's about time they flip the script. And there's also kind of a slightly funny running gag through it of just like that none of them actually care about learning about wine.
That's fun. Okay, yeah, that's good.
So, there's kind of clever little things like this. So it's a group of 5 women who are all played by comedic actors. Is Amy Poehler herself, Maya Rudolph, Tina Fey is there. She's not one of that group. Mm-hmm. She is the person who rents them their villa for the week.
Right.
But she actually also gets a nice little story arc herself. So it's around Rachel Dratch's character. I don't know if you know Rachel Dratch. I didn't really know her before, but I realised she plays...
I kind of know her, yeah.
Okay, she plays Last Week Tonight.
John
Oliver's
yes.
His wife, his Republican wife, in sort of a lot of the sketches and stuff.
Okay, right, yeah.
So and she's by far, well, they're all funny, but she is really funny in this. So it's glad to finally know who she is. So it's her 50th birthday. I find it hard to believe that like those actors are actually 50, but maybe some of them are. Like people like Maya Rudolph, Amy Poehler. I would have thought it,
yeah, but now you're saying, I guess they probably are.
I mean,
50.
I suppose they might be, yeah. So good job them if they are. Yeah, so they're off on like their on a celebratory weekend of wine drinking. Jason Schwartzman also turns up, and it's a bit weird. He's like the guy who like cooks them meals in their house and also drives them around everywhere. So it sort of just feels like they wanted to put him in there, but it's funny enough, I suppose. And yeah, I mean it's definitely there's kind of sort of a lot going on. Some of it's like some storylines stick, some of them are a bit weird. There's one storyline about they go to an art show because one of the women falls in love with this waitress, and she says like, let's go, or not falls in love, but meets this person she's attracted to. They invite her there, and then there's this whole like weird scene which is just like, millennials are weird. They like, what is it with them and their actually it's like, what is it with them and their confidence? And it's like, you've not met many millennials, have you?
Do you think the joke is like a meta joke of them not getting it, or that's actually what Tina Fey and Amy Poehler all think? I
think there is some meta stuff going on, because it then kind of comes around to like them being like, you realize you 50-year-olds are the ones who are being weird here.
Okay,
and it sort of works, but I'm also like, it's a bit I think they're stretching a bit. They're right. I would have preferred it without that. Yeah. But it's they tried stuff.
But you would say that as a millennial, Sarah, can't you take a joke, etc., etc.?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's it. Oh, also boycott wine country. That's what I'm here to say today. Yeah. So.
Yeah, white men are great. Boycott wine country.
These are the things I have to say. And actually, one of the things that I'm sort of also in two minds about, but I think it might have been quite good, was their final sort of obstacle in the film is that they're up at the top of like it's supposedly like a precipitous kind of hill,
Right.
which they have to like try and navigate their way down. It's obviously not actually that dangerous at all, but they, you're supposed to think it is. But I'm sort of like, is this their way of being like, you have to like, you're on
stakes.
Well, you're on your decline in life, and you have to learn how to get your way down.
That's kind of all right.
Yeah, which I'm kind of like, so it's sort of like a bit clunky, but I kind of admire them for trying it.
Yeah, like it's really on the nose, but also in its own way kind of abstract.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
odd. All right.
It is. There's also like quite a bit of like people falling down and
Well, Sarah, it's
funny,
a comedy involving women. They have to fall down all the time. That's the rule of movies.
Yeah. So you've seen this movie already, I see.
Only in my mind, it seems.
But yeah, so like I do admire it. Not everything worked, but I would like to see more things trying things
For a
like
Netflix
that.
comedy, that's probably the highest praise you can give it. Like, some of it actually worked. Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
There was no Cloverfield paradox in terms of being a god-awful shit pile. Which is always, a good thing for a Netflix movie.
Very true. So yeah, I suppose I don't have really any sort of segue into my next Netflix movie.
That's okay.
This is so I'm not going to say the Spanish language name because I don't know it. But in English, it is Who Would You Take to a Desert Island? So it's, as I said, it's set in Spain. It's about these like 4 friends who have been sharing an apartment for like 8 years, I think. And this is the last night before they all go their separate ways. And I sort of watched this because the sort of premise is that they sort of end up playing this sort of drinking game, I guess, which is like, yeah, if you had to pick one person to bring with you, who would it be? And it turns out, like, this sort of game leads them to unexpected places. And I think it shows the type of movie I like to watch, because I was like, who's going to murder who?
Does it go that way?
It doesn't go that way, no.
Okay.
I think I was kind of...
So were you annoyed it didn't go that way? Or?
No, I wasn't annoyed. It's just, do you know that? Have you seen that movie, The Invitation?
No, I haven't seen The Invitation.
Okay.
I think I know the vague plot of it, though. And it's similar to the film I'm thinking of. But anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, yeah. So, I mean, that is a really weird movie about cults and, yeah.
Excellent. Great.
And friends coming together for dinner parties that go the wrong way.
Cool.
And it's really good. It's terrifying. And I think I've kind of always hoped that another movie will like come along like that.
All right.
So this isn't that movie,
Oh,
but
that's a pity.
it's still pretty good. Like I think it's very decent for what it's trying to be.
Yeah, for a film about murders, it was all right, I suppose.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of great performances. So one thing that I don't know, I don't really know what I can take from it to a certain degree, because it sort of addresses LGBT issues without kind of spoiling it too much. But there's a bit of like use of homophobic slurs throughout, which I feel like, look, I'm not even watching it in the original language. And also...
And I'm still offended.
And so I don't know, like, in a certain sense, I don't know how, what's the word, like...
If they're kind of more colloquialisms or...
Yeah, or even just like how well the terms are used within the movie,
yeah.
do you know? So like, to me, I'm just sort of like, oh, I don't really like to see that. But at the same time, maybe that's just me being a stupid foreigner, not realizing how carefully and well used it is. I certainly think it's worth seeing, but I guess I wonder what I'm missing from the original language. Like, I suppose it may be possibly just also how issues around homophobia are dealt with in different cultures. So there you go. Okay. I don't know. But
in summary, despite a lack of murders, but an abundance of slurs, it's pretty good.
That's it. Yeah. So, my last Netflix movie is also not in English. Shocker.
Sarah, you're so cultured.
I know. So this is an Indonesian language film called Suzzanna Buried Alive. And it's an interesting movie. I think it's just because the premise is not something I'd ever come across before. And yeah, so it's this woman becomes pregnant after like years of hoping, but she is then brutally murdered by some of her husband's work. Like her husband is a wealthy businessman who like basically doesn't pay his workers enough, so they come to steal from his house, but end up murdering her because they thought she would be out. And so some of the politics are a bit weird, but basically she then, when she dies, she becomes two ghosts.
Go on.
One is like I don't know, vengeful poltergeist type thing, but the other is just like just sort of like her alive, but she's not alive.
Okay, that sounds insane. But I just say I thought it was going to go a much different direction. Like when you said the name of it, and then that it's really weird, and that a pregnant woman dies. My assumption was her consciousness gets into the baby, and she has to like get out of the womb.
That would be
horrible, and no one wants to do that.
Yeah, that's
that
true.
version is still fucking mad that you just said, but in a less horrible way.
True. So, I mean, what's really interesting about it is that that everyone presumes she's still alive, because the sort of the regular ghost version of her is just going around doing her regular life.
So they can all see the ghost?
They can all see the ghost,
okay.
And they all think it's still her. So then there's a rumor going around that she's dead.
Is it a black comedy?
Sort of, yeah. Like there is a lot of like there is a lot of comedic elements, and there's also a lot of really gruesome, horrific elements.
I have to watch this.
It's really interesting.
But not good.
No. I mean, I did think it was good as well. Yeah. So, yeah, I like it's interesting for other reasons, but just mainly it's just like, how did they think this up? Like, it's great.
I'll take note of that one.
Yeah. And I suppose as well, you ask if it's a black comedy, and I think it is, but I suppose, again, I don't really know enough about Indonesian culture to be sure.
Maybe it's like it's straight faced and you're just laughing at it and you're actually being sensitive. Yeah, that is a worry with films. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, 3 movies that I very much enjoyed.
You can watch the comfort of your own home.
Yes.
If you have Netflix. If you're part of the corporate mass.
That's it.
Okay, now my turn to go for 3 films on my own. I guess I'll start with John Wick 3. What are your feelings towards the John Wick franchise? Have you seen them, or do you care?
Yeah, I have seen the first 2, and I really loved the first one. I was then very much let down by the second one.
Interesting. Why is that?
I remember thinking that it was just suddenly too much about storyline, too much about ridiculous. I suppose it just felt like they just went too much for the like, this stuff doesn't actually make sense. We're just gonna like pretend it does.
You will hate the third one. That's all I got to say.
I might, and I'd say that's fair, but I actually think I might want to revisit them, because, yeah, like I think maybe, I feel like maybe I did take the first one too seriously in certain ways. Like maybe if I rewatch the first one, I might be able to enjoy the second one more, and maybe enjoy the third one more.
Okay, I think your gut instinct is probably right in that. In my mind, I always think of one as the boring one, but having now endured the third, actually, okay, to preface, I actually really like the third one, but I also have a lot of problems with it. I think the first one is the best of the 3 in terms of pacing. Like, it's actually telling. It's a very simple story, but like it is a story with action scenes in it. Whereas the second one is more like a series of action scenes with a story kind of happening around it. And the third one is just wall-to-wall action scenes with the vaguest backstory in the background happening.
Okay.
And it just feels like a reset of the first 2. Like the end of the third one, I was like, please don't make another one. Even though the end of the third one is basically the end of the second one. Like, it's just, this will never stop. It's just this constant cycle of the same things happening over and over again. Yeah, I think the third one for me is the most perfect distillation of what a video game film would honestly look like. If you just if you made a game of an action, if you made a film of an action game, this is what it looked like. It's just endless shootouts. And look, I think the second one is kind of really fun. I like the bit where he's just headshotting like dozens upon dozens of men, and it's very impressive visually, and also kind of horrifying because he's killing hundreds of people.
Yeah,
with like this incredible robotic finesse, which is just awe-inspiring and just a living nightmare. The third one is that to an even greater extreme, and by the end of it, I was thoroughly exhausted and kind of bored.
Okay,
because the first half of 3 is great. There's some really inventive close combat fight sequence in the first half of it. The Halle Berry character is fun, and her attack dogs feel like a power up she has that she can just like launch every now and again. Probably the highlight for me was the Halle Berry chunk where it's just him and her shooting endless people in the head, and there's dogs just attacking people and dogs doing like all kind of crazy flips and jumps and stunts. No dogs die in this film. That's good. They have bulletproof armor now. Literally, her dogs wear bulletproof armor just in case.
Okay.
In terms of what you said about the plot for the second one feeling too stupid, I think again the first one should have been the end. They should have made sequels. Even though I'm glad they did well and they made more sequels, I think the first one. The reason the first one gets away with it is because it's a really simple story where they just went, okay, but let's just have in the background, like, let's hint at this really weird universe that we won't really explain. We'll just kind of hint at. Yeah. And second one, okay, now we have to like make another film, so let's do more of it.
Yeah.
And the third one does more of it again, but now it feels really stupid, and it also feels like the entire world is in on it. Like everyone he meets, like that was bad in 2, but it's much worse in 3, where literally every person in New York seems to know what's happening.
Okay.
I was like, so are there any like real people left, or is this the world, this quote unquote secret society? And the rules would get much more weird, and there's adjudicators, and it's
okay.
Again, I kind of like the idea of this universe. But in practice, watching it, it's kind of getting really up its own arse now, and I'm not even sure how much that's a joke. Like maybe they're going to go, let's just push this as far as we can as a joke. Like let's just keep making this more and more bureaucratic and more stupid. But that's sort of a tongue-in-cheek thing. But maybe it's serious. I have no idea. And they're making a TV show now, aren't they? Called The Continental, which will tie into it somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is too long. I think it's probably over 2 hours. But by the time you get to the last chunk of it, when you've just watched again like endless fight scenes, there's so few bits that aren't fight scenes, which is really impressive on one level because it's an endless showcase of really well done like in-camera stunts. But by the time at the end, and he enters like the final boss fight room, which looks like a final boss. It's all glass and skulls, and again looks very impressive. And he meets it's one of the guys from the Raid movies and someone else.
Okay.
And you're like, okay, cool, that's one of the Raid guys, this will be a good fight. But also, I know there's another fight after this, so I'm like, they're only like the sub-bosses of the main boss who's still upstairs above them again.
Wow.
And like half an hour to go. And I know from people who do Silent and stuff that it's very impressive and it's very accurate and realistic. But to my thinking, if this is a real depiction of actual martial arts, those fights would be 10 seconds. Whereas these are just like human meat robots that are just punching each other for like 20 or 30 minutes. He gets hit by 2 different cars. Spoiler, he survives falling off a building.
Okay.
Like a tall building.
Oh, yeah.
And also, these 3 films have all taken place over the course of like 2 weeks. So like his injuries in the last 2 films are still kind of in play, and it's nonsense. It's so stupid if you stop and think about it. Fair play Keanu Reeves, he's pushing 60 and he's still doing these stunts and he's riding horses and shooting people off horses, and it's great. It's really good, but also I'm okay if you stop now. I'm I'm sick of these. Because I've always maintained that I wouldn't mind a film where like you basically watch someone play a video game, but I'm like, well, I've now seen that, and you know what? I could watch it, but I don't watch it again. I don't watch any more of it, because their big conceit for the third to last fight scene is that it's all bulletproof people he's fighting. So it's just him basically. Okay. The look on your face. It's him using guns to not kill people, but like just keep them down while he like has to then like get close enough to shoot them in the neck. That's the only weak point they have. Okay. And it's sort of ridiculous and stupid and funny, but also kind of impressive just the way it's being done. But it's also like, how do you make a fourth one now? Like, what's the next? He's literally fought an army of bulletproof men and won. Like, what do you do next? Yeah. Then he fell off a building.
Yeah. Outer space, maybe?
Oh, that would be great. Yes. Okay, you sold me, Sarah. The fourth one's set in space. I'm good. 2 other things that I didn't like about it. One, it gets very self-aware to a slightly obnoxious degree at the very end, where he meets the Raid guys, and they're like, "Oh, it's John Wick. We have to fight John Wick." And it's like, because I know he's meant like he's a known person in that universe. That's the whole point of the first 2. But now it's like, "Oh, I get to fight John Wick." I'm like, please stop. I'm embarrassed for you and for me for watching this. Just stop this whole dialogue now. The cinema I saw it in, there were a group of lads TM behind me. They were going, whoa, at every fight scene, every bit of blood and dismemberment, and they were like basically cheering and clapping at that bit, and I was like, please go home. I hate you and I hate me for being here. So that pissed me off. The other thing is, ever since my last year of film studies where I did a module with Diane Negra, I can't not look through every film through this lens of like racial and ethnic coding.
Oh, wow, yeah.
This film has some weird shit going on that I would like someone with like a degree in depictions of race and ethnicity to kind of just deconstruct for me and explain to me what it means. So they reveal pretty early on when Angelica Houston's in this one. As the head of like a Romani tribe. I think she's white in real life, isn't she? That's pretty dodgy. And they reveal that like they raised John Wick.
What?
So he's part Romani now as well, I guess.
Good lord.
And like they're a subset of the overall underworld in these movies, but they're also separate because they're their own thing. I don't know. It's weird. And then he has to go above. So the High Table was the big nebulous controlling forces in the other movies. So he has to go above them to kind of try and win back favor to meet the Elder. So he has to go to the desert in Morocco and then meet this stereotype in the desert in like a, what's the word for those like kind of tent things? Like a Lawrence of Arabia situation. He goes to the middle, he walks like miles, and then gets picked up by a camel and then gets brought before the Elder, which just feels like a weird thing. And so there's a man in Morocco that controls all this, but he lives in the desert and has no access to anything. It's like, what's happening?
Oh, good lord.
This is so strange. So yeah, the world building I think has gone too far.
Yeah.
They should stop. The Romani thing, I don't know. I feel like that's probably in poor taste in some way. But
sounds it.
Sure.
I mean, but also the fact that, the controlling force is just like, has nothing to do with the modern worlds, or not the modern world, but...
weird.
The worlds that we know it. Yeah. That's.
And then Lawrence Fishburne's still there, like running the homeless network of New York, and
right.
That's still a thing from the second one, but now it seems more so. And I don't know. Again, as a stunt work showcase, phenomenal, great stuff. I could have done with like half as much stuff. Just could have half those fight scenes, save them for the next one, add in more actual plot line. Or a storyline, or just characters. Human dialogue would be nice. Not just like weird glances and like monosyllabic sort of utterances and like just sliding coins across tables. Like so much just people sliding coins across tables and like nodding at each other. It's like, what is happening? What's going on? Someone just say something. And like most of Reeves' dialogue is just him saying, yeah, to the camera. Okay. Great. So yes, I don't want to come across like a spoil sport buzzkill. I did enjoy it, but also just so very tired.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
To jump from that to something the other end of the spectrum, Pokémon Detective Pikachu is the full title. This is a weird one. You haven't seen it, no?
No.
Had you planned to see it?
I had thought about it, and then I actually did see some stuff which was like, it's not really worth it. And then to be fair, I did see other stuff which was like, it's worth your time. And then so I think I was very conflicted and just.
What was the not worth it? What did they say about it?
The not worth it was saying like that there's only like 6 Pokemon within it or something. There's not very many.
A lot of background ones.
Okay, I think it was possibly that there's not that Pokemon don't actually come into the story all that much or something. Maybe I'm very wrong there.
Yes and no.
And I think as well that they were kind of saying that the main character, like that his arc is I'm sorry, maybe not the main character's arc, but that his arc is just like, I used to think humans were bad, but now I learned that they're good, and it was all thanks to you. And that character was called, his second name is literally Goodman. So there was sort of, I think it was possibly just that it was a very trite, overarching story. But that was one that I heard. So you can tell me whether I'm right or wrong now.
Well, I mean, I don't have that much Pokemon nostalgia. Like I obviously, as we all did, we all had the cards back in the day and stuff, and I could still name a good few of the original 150. But I don't care all that much. I still saw this out of just kind of curiosity because it's odd that it exists. On the front of Pokemon not being that important to the plotline, I think that was smart, because if you were to adapt one of the Pokemon games into a film, it'd be sort of like a John Wick situation, except where they're just dogfights every 5 minutes.
That's true.
So I think making it essentially a weird throwback detective movie that just happens to have a Pokemon world in it, where they're all just walking around the streets and stuff, is smart. It did mean that most of the film, especially because I saw it release night, evening screening release night, sold out. Guess how many children are actually there?
Oh, wow. I'm going to say 3.
2.
2. Oh, so
the rest
close.
is all our age and older.
Okay.
Which shows you who this is skewing
Yeah,
towards.
yeah.
Every time a single Pokemon is on screen, someone will be pointing at it and going, oh, making like noise,
right.
like, oh my god. And I was like, that was obviously the intended, like, it's Ready Player One with Pokemon. That's what it is.
Interesting. Yes.
So that shit pissed me off because I can't stand that nonsense in the cinema.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it though. I think I'm curious to hear from someone who actually has children and brought children. 'Cause I have a feeling kids will be bored by it.
Okay.
The jokes, for the most part, to my mind, seem to skew older. There's one joke about Pikachu getting fingered, which is like, this is not for children.
Okay.
There's a reference, a really sly, oblique reference to Ed Gein. I was like, this is not for kids.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the level we're at. I told you like the dirtiest, worst jokes, and neither of them are that explicit, but they're there,
Okay.
and that's the tone that we're going for. Despite what the trailers tell you, Bill Nighy's in this,
right.
which is surprising, and seeing known British character actor Bill Nighy saying some of the dialogue he's made to say was very interesting, very amusing, very weird. And apparently he's now a massive Pokemon fan, having worked on this and like brought loads of props home and stuff, and is obsessed.
Okay.
I don't know. Bill Nighy. I guess to compare it to like the Sonic thing of recent weeks. So the Sonic trailer we've all seen the Sonic trailer at this point, I assume, tried to make him quote unquote realistic.
Yeah.
And it was a nightmare. This film didn't try that at all. It just went, let's just take the original designs and basically just make them as real worldy as we can without losing their cartoonishness. So there's a sort of Uncanny Valley thing where like the Bulbasaurs and stuff sort of look like they're made of Play-Doh or like plasticine. Like, they still look like they're existing in the world. They don't look like they're made of any kind of organic material. The likes of Pikachu looks fine. He's all kind of furry and stuff, so it's alright. But it is sort of hit and miss whether they look like a believable creature or like Mr. Mime is a nightmare.
Oh yeah.
That sequence is very funny and again very dark. But so I guess to root on that joke a little bit is again the level that this is on. The way they extract information from Mr. Mime is what's his name? Actually, Goodman, I think, is the main guy, isn't he? That's Justice Smith's character, I think. Is it? Maybe. Justice Smith's character. Mime is pouring petrol on him and then like lighting a match and like threatening with the match.
Wow.
And that's how he spills the beans then.
I don't remember that bit from the trailer.
The trailer doesn't show that bit. Like it starts, that sequence doesn't go that far.
Okay.
And then like the sequence ends and accidentally dropping the match and it cuts away. I'm not sure what happens then, does he? What happens if a psychic mime gets burned by psychic fake fire? Does he actually die? I don't know. The film doesn't explain, but that's the level these jokes are at, which I think kids wouldn't care about this. They wouldn't get it. They might be scared by it. There's not that many action sequences. What little are there are pretty good and fun and weird, and like it's cool seeing a fully realized Mewtwo being like an all-powerful god creature. But it's just, I don't know why this movie exists. I really don't understand why it got greenlit or why it'll make tons and tons of money. Because I do want to know what kids think of it. I suspect they'll hate it, or at least be kind of like,
Yeah.
But it does seem to be going down well with the millennial ironic audience, which is fine. Again, I think it's almost worth seeing just for the Bill Nighy stuff, because it's so bizarre hearing him talk about like Pokemon.
Okay.
But like really earnestly and excitedly.
And speaking of video game movies, like where does it rank in them, or?
I said, people have been saying this, like, is this the best one?
Yeah.
I guess it probably is on technicality front. Like, I can't think of one that's a better just film on its own. Like, it's not a great film, but it's a just about above average one, which is the best you can get with a video game movie.
Yeah, okay.
But also then people are saying, well, is it really a video game film? Look, it's not based on like a main Pokemon game. It's based on like a weird spin-off Pokemon game where there's the Detective Pikachu and I suppose I didn't talk about Ryan Reynolds at all. He's fine in it. I had worried from the trailers it would just be like it's Deadpool but a Pikachu. Which it isn't too much. There's a little bit like okay. But for the most part it does feel like its own sort of character. Apparently improv a lot of it, which kind of shows and explains a lot of the darker jokes, I'd imagine. It was good. I wouldn't mind watching more of these, but also I don't know if we need that. Whatever. Go nuts. The last thing I'll talk about before we get to the big thing briefly Vox Lux, which is the new Natalie Portman movie from a guy who made a film I never heard of. Sorry, Robert Pattinson. I didn't see it. Doesn't matter. Weird movie. I don't know how I feel about it. Actually, let me ask you. So you know of this film?
Yeah.
You have seen the trailer?
No.
Okay. What's your impression of what the plot is?
I don't think I know anything about it.
Fine.
Yeah. I was kind of, as I said to you, I think I said to you earlier that I was hoping to see it, but it sounded like something that you'd want to know less about going in. Maybe I'm wrong.
Nah, I mean, yeah, it's more just that I think they're selling it weird. Like the trailer that I saw, it looked like Black Swan, except with more guns. Like the trailer looks like Black Swan, but then there's all these shots of, like people in masks with like shotguns. So I was like, what? What's happening? It gets a bit John Wick there for a moment. The actual plot, and actually I don't think it matters knowing it's going because I knew it's going in. It's fine. The actual plot is that Natalie Portman's only in like half of this movie. The first half is like played by a different actress who's like the younger version of her. So it starts in the late 90s, I believe, or like 2000, and it's a school shooting. And she survives the school shooting. She's like the one person that survives it, and then like gets a musical career at like singing this wholesome song about it. And then yeah, the school shooting is one of the most horrible things I've ever seen. It's like it's really well done, but Jesus Christ, like if 8th grade is the believable depiction of being a teenager, this is like the horrifying real world horror movie version of what a school shooting is like. It's just so underplayed and just so like there's no dramatic flair to it. It's just very matter of fact, and it's awful. It's horrible. Very well done. And then it sort of jumps around a bit after that. Like it kind of very quickly goes through her life up till she's Natalie Portman and like has a failed marriage and a kid, and she's substance abusing, and I don't know what the point of the film is. I think it's trying to say something about the nature of fame and the way we idolize people. But then I was talking about like they deserve. I don't know. It's really. I know definitely it has a thesis. I'm really unclear on exactly what it's trying to say about that thesis. It's a very intentionally kind of vague film. Like it's hard to read it. It ends really oddly. I won't say exactly how, but it's sort of, if you're taking the Black Swan analogy, it'd be like the final performance just goes well and then it just cuts to credits. Like that's sort of like, what? That's the end of it? Okay. Willem Dafoe is doing a voiceover. He's the narrator, but he's not in the movie. He's not mentioned in the trailers. It's just Willem Dafoe is just talking in this film now. Great, cool. Why? I think as a collection of scenes, it's very good. Like every individual sort of dramatic, I don't know, set piece is the wrong word, but just all the scenes of like this heavy dialogue and her screaming and talking, they're good. Like it's very dramatically involving and it's very intense and interesting. I just don't really understand the broader point of what it's getting at. And I'm sure there's someone somewhere who got it immediately and thought it was great. I do think it's interesting and it is odd and it sort of hits you like a wave. Like it's a very overpowering film in some ways. It's a very strange film, and I don't know what to make of it. Honestly, I'm not sure if I like it or hate it, or I think it's great or terrible, or it's like a Winding Refn movie where it's like I think I like this, but also I don't know.
Funny, actually, I was talking to a friend who went to a screening that had a power cut after the first half hour.
Okay.
And she was saying everyone sat there in the theatre for like 5 minutes thinking it was still part of the movie.
Wait, this film or a different film?
Vox Lux.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
I wouldn't be surprised.
So yeah.
I think actually that's probably the best summation you can give it of if a power cut happened halfway through and you weren't sure that was the film or not, that's the film. Like cinematography, score, all great. It's actually kind of like 8th grade is I think the score. The score is like a horror movie score, but it's just over like really mundane shots and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I really like films doing that.
Yeah,
weird. For some reason I'm just reminded of you talking about Under the Silver Lake, and I recently watched a half an hour kind of analysis discussion of it. And I now think I'd really like that movie and I'm gonna watch it.
Okay. Yeah.
I can't remember, did you say you hated it or you didn't?
I didn't really like it, but I also thought it got a lot of like, I think it was extreme the amount of dislike it got. Like I think I said like of all the films that I wouldn't mind, not getting much of a release, just like that would not be the film, because I think it's actually, I think there's interesting things going on, even though I thought it was kind of
a mess.
Yeah. Actually, that's another film I would like to talk to people about. So do see it if you get a chance.
I think they could be on a similar spectrum, all right. Of like, there's definitely things to be said about this, and this film is definitely saying things, but just it's definitely not for everyone.
Yes.
So that's the segue. A film that is for everyone.
Oh, yes.
Literally everyone on earth, it seems, going by
it.
ticket receipts. Avengers Endgame. Sarah, do you have any strong opinions on Avengers Endgame?
Well, okay, so I'll say what I thought about it.
Yeah, that's a good start. I think so. Yeah.
I very much admired both. Actually, Endgame, and I thought similarly with
Infinity War.
Infinity War. Thank you. That they were both incredibly comprehensive movies. Like they both brought together so many diverse. Not in the good way, story plots and brought together so many characters and stuff. I think they made everything very understandable and followable, which is commendable. I also think that it sort of felt kind of dead inside. And I didn't think, I think that they figured out sort of the technical side of stuff. I'm not sure that they figured out the the heart that I would like to see in movies generally.
I think I agree with that. Like, for all of the issues I'd give about Age of Ultron, I think Joss Whedon there was a sort of beating heart at the end of that movie, even though it was again kind of messy and it wasn't great and whatever. And I agree with you that both Endgame and Infinity War, I think probably more so Infinity War, because Endgame kind of has more of a traditional actual structure to it. Are both like masterclasses in producing, like not so much directing, but like producing and getting everything together. Like they are both very impressive, just puzzle boxes that I'm shocked work as movies on any level. But I think I agree with you that I didn't feel a whole lot towards. I think probably a bit more Endgame, just because knowing this was an ending of stuff happens and stuff, the actual finality kind of happens. Like, I'm not a sado. I don't cry at movies ever. Didn't cry at this one. But I felt a little bit, I felt like the tingling, the merest brushing of a hand on the cheek of emotions. When, I guess, spoilers for the fight who haven't seen it yet. When you realise Black Widow's definitely dead, it's like, oh, that's kind of sad. And then just the sheer scale of that last battle as it's happening, when everyone's coming to all the portals, like, this is actually pretty impressive. I'm feeling some feelings. Because this is like 10 years and like 20 plus film for the characters all on screen at once. Cool, good job.
Yep.
To its credit, for a 3-hour movie, it didn't feel like 3 hours.
No, it didn't.
I saw it twice and it didn't feel like 3 hours either time. So that's actually good going. Well played. It was a film. It's going to make all of the money in the world. Here's a question. Do you feel like this or Avatar is the more worthy owner of the crown of highest grossing film of all time?
Good point.
I feel I'll remember this one more than Avatar.
Yeah, I mean, I think I found Avatar quite boring. Whereas I don't think I found Endgame boring, certainly. No. There's always enough things going on. Did not feel that with Avatar at all.
What were your feelings on the all-female character moment? Was it pandering or was it great?
Yeah.
I think it's both. Because I loved it, but also thought it was really thoroughly unearned.
That's, that's reasonable. I definitely, this kind of builds into the one thing that I...
Oh, yes, you had a point. Yes, there was a talking point, thank God.
Which is, I mean, I suppose part of why I felt that female scene was very unearned was, have you heard of the term the glass cliff?
No.
Okay, so you've probably heard of the term the glass ceiling.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
right.
So this is something that was, at least I became aware of it on Freakonomics, their podcast. Obviously, they didn't make it up, but they were kind of brought it to my awareness, which is essentially that when companies like, especially Fortune 500, big, but like, in other places as well, when companies are in trouble, they will promote women to like CAO and to other hii-ranking positions, so that when they like crash and burn, guess who they can blame? Yes. I didn't realize this, and I didn't realize until I was talking to a friend about it during the week. But isn't that exactly what happens to Black Widow? Oh,
yeah, pretty much. Well, it's funny to say that because I was actually thinking in the last few weeks about phase 4 of these Marvel movies and the fact that now that they've made all of the money they will ever make, like they will never beat this. This is the peak of money they'll make.
That's a fair point, yeah.
But the phase 4 films that they've announced so far are all notably more diverse than what came before. Like there's going to be that Shang-Chi movie, which is the first like Asian lead character. There's going to be an openly gay character in the Eternals movie. But this is when the box office is going to start going down. So it's sort of kind of a similar idea that once this happens, they go, oh, well, diversity killed it. It's like, no, it didn't.
That's a good point. That's a worryingly good point.
But yeah, I think that's not a unfair description of Black Widow's arc.
Yeah.
I will say I found that scene very funny. When they're having
funny.
like a suicide off.
Yes.
Not the most noble suicide. Even like, how do the mechanics of the Soul Stone thing work? Like if you kill yourself
it's so
for fun I don't know.
It's so weird.
Funny.
And I mean, like, why didn't they just throw anything off the cliff and find out what happens? Do you know? I mean,
any old child.
Yeah, drop kick a puppy, whatever. Like, I'm sort of like, how is it that you turn up this thing with no knowledge of what's going to happen and be like, well, one of us is going to have to, one of us is going to have to suicide the other somehow.
Yeah, pretty much. Bizarre sequence of events. And it did annoy me that basically the only people that stayed dead are, well, her and Tony, but Tony got like a giant fuck off funeral, which she didn't get. No. Because I guess even of this film, the casualties are Black Widow, a version of Nebula.
Yeah.
I think there's Tony, so yeah, it's 2-1, the gender film. But like, Nebula's fine. A version of Gamora is alive again, but our Gamora, quote unquote, is still dead for now.
And actually, I thought that was kind of disrespectful to the last movie and to Peter Quill as well, to just be like, to have the two
Peter
of them.
Quill,
okay, fair enough. But just to have the Gamora of the other universe turn up and be like, ooh, him. This is like, okay, yeah, funny, whatever. It's like, I mean, that was like your genuine emotional arc of your last movie, so maybe don't rubbish it. I don't know.
I did enjoy the line of it was him or a tree, but yeah, that was, I guess I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Actually, I have another question for you. What did you think about Spider-Man in Endgame? I know that's a very big question, and I'll maybe
he's not really
specify further
in it a whole lot. My main thought was that Tony Stark is like in his final 2 seconds of life. You got this kid he very knows, like kind of going, oh, stop dying. He's like, no, maybe that is like his wife say goodbye to him. She's like, right, you're just hassling her, man. Just step back for a second. Everyone in this room, everyone in this field knows him better than you do. Get away from him.
Yeah, very true.
What was your question specifically about?
Yeah, I should probably make it make sense. Which is that I think that they took away from the Endgame ending by having basically tried to do the exact same emotional beat as they did from Infinity War. Because I thought in Infinity War it was actually really powerful when Tom Holland's character was going like, holy shit, what's happening, I'm scared. Like that was probably the moment of the last year, or the last 10 years of movies that I was closest to being like, holy shit, fair. I'm going to cry now. And so I just thought, like, for them to try and to do the same again, I thought that was really unfair to Spider-Man and actually to Tom Holland as well, because he's such a great actor. But to put all that on, to put the whole weight of a franchise on one actor's shoulders, I thought that was mean.
I guess it's mean, but he carried it okay, so
I guess that's...
I'm sure he very loves that, though. Like, that's a lot of screen time for him to do a lot of the heavy lifting on what comes from future memes.
Very true.
People have pointed out, and I kind of don't disagree, that this film does feel like a weird, like, obviously it's very fan servicey. The whole middle hour is just fan service for a previous movie, which is fine. I don't mind. That's grand. Whatever. You've made 10 years of these. It feels 10 years. 10 years of these films, 20 films.
With all the time traveling, it's 20.
Yeah, sure. There you go. Fair enough. Go with that. It's weird having what felt like callbacks or nostalgia for Infinity War scenes. Like the Black Widow sequence was just a sort of, remember this in the Gamora bit last film? Yeah, that was a year ago. Of course I remember it. It was like less than a year ago. And like you're saying with Spider-Man, having basically doing the same scene again but reversed with him and Tony. Weird, odd. I don't have nostalgia for Infinity War because I probably watched it in the last 6 months, so it's still a new movie in my mind. Actually, we were talking about last time the Captain Marvel in the room of it all.
Yeah.
She didn't need to be in that movie at all. They could have made her a solo villain afterwards. It would have made no difference. She basically was needless to the plot.
Yeah.
She solved 2 minor issues that couldn't solve other ways. I did think it was funny that they almost, I think, knowingly had some goading moments of, oh, she's going to swoop in and save the day.
Yeah.
Like twice they do that, but then they don't do it. I was like, that's actually kind of funny because I'm not sure if they saw the backlash coming or maybe changed some scenes so it looked much more like that because that felt like intentions goading the worst parts of their own fan base. And oh, look, she's going to save the day, guys, on her own. Like, I'm only joking.
Yeah.
But no, I liked her ish. I think it was noticeable that she shot these scenes first before her own movie, and she wasn't really given knowledge of what she was acting against. Like some of them apparently it was her on a green screen saying lines, not being told what's happening around her, which I think does mean that she comes across sort of cold for a lot of it. The bit with her in Spider-Man, that was really nice. I thought that was Brie being very personable and sort of charming, and I like that little interaction they have. Again, she could have been not on that movie and would have lost nothing. I like that character, like her, but I was like, she did not need to be here. For all the belly aching for the last month and a half, she couldn't have. She could have been not in the movie and it would have been fine. I think it was good. I think it was alright. Pretty decent.
What did you think? I hadn't. It sort of. I think it wasn't until I was watching the movie I was like realizing how convenient the snap was, because it was essentially a way of keeping 2/3 of their characters in, what's the word? Basically hiding them away so that they could burst out in the last
pretty much
act.
Yes.
So it was kind of very I was surprised how and I think that's where my admiration / issues with the film come from. It's like it's quite clever. It's massively cynical.
Yes. As a series of like ones and zeros and like slot A's and B's, it's quite well constructed, but there's no real feeling to a lot of it.
That's it. And I don't know, what does it also say when like the writers, directors, producers, they're all depending on like basically the bad guys' machinations in order to work, if that makes sense. Like basically what Thanos does is exactly what they are doing. Which is like, there's weird stuff going on there, is all I can say.
I think it's kind of been a feature of the Avengers movies specifically, because like the first movie is all about how this won't work as a team up, it's a stupid idea. The second one's about how it's a bad idea to keep doing this, and like these are all very self-aware. And the third one's just this: the universe is too big, it's too overpopulated, and you get rid of some people. Like this is all very self-aware stuff. I think that's kind of at least somewhat like winking, knowing writing. People have said it. I kind of don't disagree that it's odds. Well, I actually think it's kind of cool. They kill Thanos at the start, and it's just they just immediately, like in the first 10 minutes, decapitate him. He's dead. Like, okay, that didn't solve anything. Cool, great. But then the fact that the version that they fight at the end isn't the version that they know from the last movie, so it's sort of there's this. I know they're gonna have the moment where not Black Widow, Scarlet Witch is like, you took everything. I don't know who you are. Like that's quite funny. I thought it was a good moment. But I was like, yeah, she's right. I mean, she's right though. Like none of you know this character. This is a different person. But again, like we're saying, there's no real heart to it, so it's fine. It's just one more like lack emotional on the pile. I think there's some like tiny moments that work really well. Like there's a bit with Black Widow near the start when I think she's been told about Hawkeye and she's crying to a sandwich. It's been a very funny meme photo since then. But it's like that's some good acting there, Scarlett. Good job. She's very good when she gets given time to do it. So
No, definitely.
Looking forward to her solo movie, which I guess is now a prequel. Unless it's her escaping from a stone. I don't know. I don't know anymore. I'm tired. I would honestly love a break from these. I'd like them to stop making them for 2 years.
That's it. I mean,
but Spider-Man's out in the month, so
like I don't know. It does seem like that's the point of Endgame. End it. For at least a while. But do you think like giving Tony Stark this emotional, this big conclusion to his big arc was that the way they should have gone, or?
The only way they kind of could have gone, like he's been the face of this franchise for 10 years now, and his movie was the first movie, and the first Avengers movie was kind of just, it was him and friends. I think that last funeral sequence was obnoxious. It was so overdone and long, and like it was sort of funny, kind of just watching the amount of people at the funeral, like, oh, Michelle Pfeiffer's at the funeral, that's cool. Why is she here? The kid from Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Like, you forget like how many characters there are, but it's also like, this is just, most people don't even know who he is. Like, I know he saved all of reality, whatever, but like, why are you here?
Yeah.
To your question, I don't know. I guess so. I really started to hate that character about halfway through these, and I think they made him not necessarily redeemable, but more likable the last couple. Like, actually, he's quite likable in this one, especially when he had like a kid and stuff. I was like, oh, he actually is a okay human. Yeah. Oh, yes, go on.
Well, I don't know. Like, it sort of annoyed me that they managed to figure things so that he could save the universe without giving
Losing
up anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, how is it that, like, I don't know. I think that idea of just like rich white man, like, gets to save universe without like making any not any sacrifice, because people are like, he died.
He wanted to die.
Like,
he wanted to die for years.
Yeah, and also just like he didn't have to. Everything went the way he wanted it to go, basically. And it's like, that's probably not how we're going to save the world in the future. So just for FYI.
Yeah, I think that's not unfair. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I think it's kind of a shame that they couldn't have made the franchise bigger than one character. I think it's a shame because they could have, but you know, that's what they chose to do.
I mean, I guess they kind of did, but yeah, like I know the last shot is obviously Cap in the past with Peggy and stuff. But it's kind of nice, if a bit sort of weird. You start thinking about it too much, but yeah, I guess they all did okay in the end. Bar Black Widow, who's dead with her head smashed on a rock, but other than her, everyone was fine.
I love the fact as well. I was listening to Plumbing the Death Star, had actually quite a good episode on Endgame, and they were like, yeah, I mean, I know Hawkeye says you can't bring her back, but like, you know, it's kind of, could they not have done more to try? Like, is that just it?
Hulk tried. He said he tried.
Did he? Okay. Well, that's good then. They tried.
I guess, like, when you bring the stone back, surely shouldn't the person in the stone get out of it? I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. Is someone in the stone?
Strange.
Who cares? Yeah, because the only people that really died in the end were Tony, her, and Vision, I guess. So, like, for their giant 2-film everyone will die thing, there was 3 main character casualties.
Yeah.
And some off-screen civilians, probably, but no one cares about them. So it's fine.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit near the start where Scott Lang comes back and he sees his daughter grown up. That was okay. That felt like a human emotion happened in my head.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd's very good though. He's just very good.
Yeah. Actually, I quite liked as well that he had a what's the name of the guy who sleeps for Rip Van Winkle moment. So I don't know if you know that it's like a short story, American short story. Where this guy like sleeps for 20 years and wakes up and yeah, it's just like how everything's changed in the world. Right. So, well, I just...
Like It, the clown.
Yes.
Pennywise.
There you go. So I kind of like that it was him getting that moment because of everyone recently being like, how the hell is he 50?
Yeah, that's true.
It was the correct character to have that story. Yeah. There was definitely like some nice moments.
There were. My question to you would be, given that you put Infinity War on your top 10 last year, do you think this will be a top 10 this year?
I don't think so. I don't think it was as good as Infinity War. And I also think, like, to be honest, Infinity War, I watched a few movies from last year since, so Infinity War would sadly be knocked off my top 10.
Fair. I was surprised to see it there anyway. Like, really? Okay. But yes, that's fair. Yeah. So no more Marvel, no more Game of Thrones. It's all finished. No more Star Wars in 6 months. Forever and ever and ever. If only. Yeah. Game of Thrones. Maybe we'll talk about it. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see how the lay of the land is in a month's time. Or whenever.
I'm trying to compare my head now, like as endings, as like in massive inverted commas endings to both those franchises. How do they compare? Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I mean, what I thought was interesting is like both. Obviously, I haven't yet to see the very last episode of Game of Thrones. But like that, both the season and Endgame both revolved around like a discrete action that sort of ends the problem. So you have the snap, you have stabbing the Night King, and then everything else just and then all their problems dust.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I mean, I don't know what that says, other than that's a weird kind of trope that's just going up a lot at the moment.
It's such an odd one. Like, I know we wouldn't talk about the last episode and the scarring of King's Landing thing, because I don't want to talk about it anymore. The Night King thing was interesting. In that should have been a season finale episode.
Yeah.
Like, I know we now know that they were offered 10 or more episodes. No, we'll do it in 6. And I was like, really? Okay, that's how that works out. Oh, it's worked out terribly. That's to be expected. Like, it does feel this could have been 2 seasons easily. And that should have been a season finale. Because also, there was no tension in that battle, because you're like, well, there's still 3 more after this for the ending. So no one can really die, bar like Ian Glenn.
Yeah.
Which is sad to see him go, but also, all right, sure, he can die. He's pretty pointless in all this.
That's it. It's funny, yeah. What was it called? It was the long night.
Yeah.
And people were like, it was just a regular night.
It was a longer episode, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know George R. R. Martin is always like, oh yeah, like when he finally writes those books, like the idea of the long night and winter finally having arrived and stuff. I always assumed it would be like several months of skirmishes with the undead and stuff, but no, one battle.
Or even if it had been like a siege. I think that, like if they'd actually done a like proper kind of Helm's Deep thing, that could have been quite good, especially if your opponents don't need food.
Nope. Just constantly moving and walking. Yeah, there was good bits in it. It's just, I don't know. And I agree with you, like, once you kind of know what's going to happen, that, like, why would the Night King even go near anyone? Why wouldn't he just... It's really silly. I'm not sure if the books will make it any better, but I feel they probably would. Like, I know you haven't seen the last episode yet, but the last episode feels like it could easily be half a book. Like, there's a bit where they basically skip over several weeks and just don't show it happening. But that's not what the books will be. The books will be every day in detail. Like, it's just weird that they skipped so much time in the last episode. It's crazy. Like, that's definitely at least half a book in book version. It's crazy, but it's over now.
There you go.
There's a prequel show already being made, so I'm not watching that. I don't care. I really don't care. No. So tired. So very tired. So just that's the lesson, Hollywood. If you're listening, stop thinking Game of Thrones. No more Star Wars. Break from Marvel. Stop making John Wick movies. Just everyone's tired. Yeah. Give us all a break.
That's it.
Oh
well.
Yep. What's out next for us to look forward to? Godzilla. That looks pretty maybe good. Spider-Man month.
Wonder Woman 2.
That's not for another year.
Oh, is it not? Okay.
Sadly.
That's actually we never said anything about DC Universe, so more DCU.
What's next on that front, actually? Yeah, because we had Aquaman and Shazam, which are both pretty okay. Is Birds of Prey this year or early next year? Early next year.
I think.
Yeah, DC is. Yeah, they're not bad. They're just sort of. Well, Aquaman $1 billion, so I guess people like that somewhere.
More of him.
But, well, yeah, sure.
Or not, you know.
It was
sometimes one is okay.
Yeah, John Wick. One is okay. Okay, I think we've babbled enough.
Yeah.
I feel exhausted just thinking about all this again. Like, Endgame. So much of it. Endless. Thank you for tuning in. This episode scores a 3 in the bleakometer, I think. It wasn't that bleak.
Yeah. No,
mostly hopeful.
Yeah. Bleak ending. But,
yeah.
You know.
That's life has a bleak ending, Sarah. We're going to die horribly in a big fire. Yep.
That's it, I think. We'll sign off for now.
Thanks for listening, if you did or didn't. Bye.